let's have a look at this. So we are live again. So here we are, RoughShod Rambles. I'm Stone Hobbit and my co-host, the fantastic Auric Vibe 1111. How's it going, Gil?
Fantabulous. How about your little self? Because we
So
both
we
had
are
one hell of a week.
Here we are, RoughShod Rambles. I'm Stone Hobbit and my co-host.
Not me.
Fantastic. All right. Must have been me. Must have been me. Blame me. It's all right. You can blame me. I get tough shoulders, and it was my fault anyway. So, all right. It's been an absolute crazy week. It has. You know, seconds ago I didn't have my bat ears on, but I decided stuff it. It's time to relax, people. We need to take a breath.
Don't lose your sense of humor now.
No way. It's all about that. Okay? But, you know, to be able to laugh, we have to be able to suck in some of that oxygen. So, I mean, you gave me a belly laugh before, and I can't even remember what the hell it was about. But I just remembered going, yeah, fucking oath. I know that right to the core. And, yeah, that's what we need, okay? You know, it's like you get to a certain age and you recognize the humor, the growth, the journey in the elders that sit in circles. And they don't talk. They just look. And then they laugh. Well, yeah, that's where I'm at. I'm there, laughing. To take that oxygen in while we can. It's been a week. And so, handing it over to you, Auric. How's your week been?
Well, it's been a hootenanny because we've had some really bizarre weather. And I know we kind of talked about, we all know that it's manipulated. But what I found to be really, really interesting is that even though it was really hot and it wasn't getting really cold at night, the leaves were still turning color and they were still falling off the trees. So everybody says it's because of the cold, but and then all of a sudden, you know, when you have that certain path that you take on your regular routines, it's pretty much the same time of day. I noticed that, you know, it's the sun in the summer comes up in the northeast. And then all of a sudden when I drive on this one road, the sun is always over here. And then I go in that next day and the sun's over here. Now that it's fall, it's more towards the south. And it's just the weirdest thing. So when it goes down, it's doing the same kind of thing. It's like really like northwest instead of just west. And then just go figure, well, it might, you know, have something to do with your latitude. Yeah, but I've always lived here except for a short stint there. So I don't get it. Something has definitely shifted, and we have Canadian geese here. And in the wintertime, they fly south. Why are they now flying north?
Yeah.
They're flying north.
I think we were talking about this last week, or I know I talked about this at some stage last week. When, like, a couple of months back, we saw daffodils coming through the ground. Now, they're not meant to come through till spring. That's a sign of spring. Mm-hmm. And I remarked, because I was driving on the way home, and I says, okay, is the seasons right or wrong? Because last year we had 2 daffodil seasons in 1 year, which I can't remember ever seeing. So that took my interest, and then this year they started early, and so did the leaves on the trees. But it was like a really fast autumn, really straight into winter and out of winter. But the weather we've got right now, we know is being manipulated. There is these massive storms. It's like, no, this is not right. This is not a normal. Like I like to listen to the wind. There is I call it it's a voice. It's a voice that comes to me. And if I stand in the right direction, I'll hear the communications coming through. And that's changed. It's like there's a panic in the trees. There's a panic in the breeze, and it's not normal. It's not man. It's not ours. It's when I say ours, I feel like I'm part of the nature. All right. It's not. It's a man-made stress.
Inorganic produced. Because even though an organic being may have made it,
Yeah,
it's
man
not
made
an organic production. It's an inorganic production.
Yeah, yeah. It's weird.
Yeah.
But what you're saying about the change in the angle and stuff, back in 2012, around 2012 to 2015, I noticed I was put into situations where I was directly opposite the runway, the airport runway. And so living around near military bases and airports, you know, you're watching, and because my grandfather flew gliders, so I got to learn the air currents and charts and this sort of thing. And so we were always around, there was that aspect of me that was always around that area. Hey, Don. Yeah, good to see you. Good to see you, Michelle, Earthgrid. Yep. Okay, get back onto it. Okay. When I was between those two stages, I was looking out because I went fishing. I went fishing, and it wasn't because I was wanting to catch a fish. It was I just needed the space. I needed the space at the time. And I had some really awesome experiences where I got to see underwater orbs. They weren't just around us. And I've got a photo of one in daytime, so I can show you that later on. But we were directly, where I was fishing was directly over opposite the Auckland airport. And they started changing their landing, where the way they were coming in and landing was totally a different direction. And then we started watching how the flight path used to be over the Sky Tower had come 15 degrees this way and was directly going across my house, you know, right above me, constantly, vroom, vroom, vroom. And I was like, well, this is not normal. So then now we're into this time and I'm watching the same thing. We're seeing planes falling out of the sky. And I believe it's got to do with the change, the tilt, if you want to say, the tilt of whatever's moving inside the rock that we're on. even though she's a living rock, you know, I'm a stone and I'm living. So there you go. So, you know, it's like there is an angle going on, and it's got to do with a lot of invisible forces. When I say invisible forces, these are fields that we don't give too much acknowledgement to. It's like what's happening on the planets out there, even if it turns out all to be this massive illusion, there is this frequency that moves everything around us, and we eventually feel the ripple effects. Now, I've been looking at this space turd, you know, the space turd, and now it's got a trail behind it. It's got all these other friendlies that are coming in behind it. And it's like, it just keeps growing and growing. And I've heard so much information on how it's meant to be slowing down around Mars, how we're not going to see it because it's going to be too bright behind the sun or in front of the sun, or none of that is, it does not sit right with me. The speed that it's going through the space has to have a pull with it. There has to be some form of pull through that fabric of space, right? If it is even a space. But what we're seeing, I don't believe is 100% real. This is my crazy mind. Yeah, I
You know
know.
what I just wrote as you just said that? I wrote, you said fabric, and then I thought, that's an interesting word. I put cated, fabricated. And you
Fabricated.
said, I think it's fake.
Yeah,
Well, there you go.
yeah,
There you go. All for naught. And I kind of question when we are told something, especially you have to consider the source of the teller, the
yeah,
source of the information that they are even gleaning it from. I was watching this guy. This was several years ago. He was studying astronomy
yeah,
and he was really excited. He was just getting into the field and he bought this beautiful telescope and he bought some nice maps and he went out with his telescope and he started looking at stuff. And of course, it's going to be based on time of year. And he's looking at all the stuff and nothing was matching up. So he contacted a couple of people that he knew who worked at these mega telescopes.
yeah,
And he asked them, oh, you have this degree, of course, really looking up to them. And this guy was talking to him. He says, well, what are you talking about? No, 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 no. It's here and it looks like this and da da. And the guy's going, but that's not what I see. He goes, well, what do you mean? He goes, well, what do you see through your telescope? Because they're not talking about those ones that are going way out there, theoretically. But we're talking about things that are more local, if you will.
yeah,
And the guy's going, we never used them. We just used the star maps that we were given in school. So these people with these degrees are basing their expertise on what they've been fed.
yeah,
So how trustable is this?
yeah,
Are you going to really believe what the news tells you? Are you really going to believe what the professor tells you without doing your own research? I was happy, hoping to still get a good grade, but I pissed a couple of professors off because I challenged their narrative.
yeah,
And I was okay with that, take the hit and move on. But I mean, that's kind of the point though, about doing your own research and not just swallowing what you're being spoon fed. If somebody posts something out there, look it up on your own. A good example is the word human and looking it up in the Black's Law Book. By the
yeah,
way, it does not mean monster. You read through that. You read through it. It was a precursor to trying to define people with what they were considering taglining people with like Down syndrome or people with whatever genetic formation that caused someone to be different. That's what they were calling in Black's Law Book a monster. And it does say monster in there, but it's not what people are. Oh, it means humans are monsters. No, that's not what the law book says. You have to go read it. You have to get the full picture. They add just enough truth, if you
yeah,
will, to make their lie stronger to push their narrative.
yeah, yeah. Yeah, mine is we're born into this reality as sea monsters. One of the seven seas we come through. We're in I can't even say it now. we're in the womb, the fluid in the womb for 9 months. Some of us 8. 8 months. So therefore, because we are fluid breathers, we don't need, the oxygen is coming through the liquid. We are therefore a water creature, aquatic being. So this is one of the 7 C's. And then when we are ready to be born, we are actually being birthed. And who delivers at the birth? A dog. And where does the delivery come from? The channel. So, there's all these different, it goes, if you can go right back to wow, look what I'm seeing. I'm seeing a rock and I have no knowledge of what that rock is. What's its capabilities? You start exploring it, you pick it up, you feel it, you do things with it, okay? You put your time, your effort, your experience into that project. So, this is where your energy goes. You start seeing where your energy is going. And when you start seeing the words that are being used, I love common law, okay? I even break down the common law, and it's the lure. It's like, we are lured into we were lured off the lands into concrete square buildings where, our abodes were not of square. They were huts, they were round, anyway. And it comes down to the frequency of who we are. It comes down to, if you go back to your deeper ancestral selves, I mean, we were talking about this before the show started. We don't really need to worry about our ancestors because we're living so many lives right now in this one go, just by getting through all the different facets of our daily life, as well as the awareness of all our ancestral possibilities. We know what we know, and it's a busy reality that we're in. So now if we condense all of that knowledge down, condense it all of it down, well, now we've got more space out here, and this is going to create something else. This is going to create something else. It's going to come together. I mean, we've got to stay in our discerned selves. There's so many distractions and things going on out there that when I'm looking out there, I laugh every time I hear somebody come up with a new opinion or suggestion, or what is a Atlas, I was going to call it AI again. It's just natural. It's just that natural feeling that this is like an AI projection to see how many people are getting sucked in to these different areas. And it's like, wow, it's such an awesome place to be sitting, to think that every possibility, anything we can come up with, whatever craziness it might sound like, that's a possibility. That's a possibility. How many of us are going to tune into which one of those possibilities is it going to be? What's the next projection it's going to show? Is it going to come from the algorithms of our attention? Look, I've got to tell you something out of this world. You know how we're constantly being watched. We're constantly being heard. The technology that we think is in place is way outdated to what they've actually got. All right. And being aware of this, okay, the lawnmower hit a stump and it bent a blade. So it got bent upside down. And anyways, there was a conversation that went on about the correct way to put it and the not so correct way to put it. Now, this was not in any known earshot, right, or frequency field to pick up on that information. So the next day, when householders turned on their, they plugged into the system, the first thing that came up on a YouTube ad was how to correctly tip your lawnmower over. So a snapshot photo was taken just for a for a reference of date, time, and oh my God, they did it again. So where I'm at is it's an illusion. It's an illusion. They are watching us 24/7. There are no excuses or rocks or any place for them to hide now. All right. We know that there are no excuses left for them to use against us. So
I'm not, uh, I'm not sure, but I mean, you kind of touched on the rules, the law, some in English, of course, it's the law may represent, and take this if you want, there's the land, air, and water. So those are the three of the elements, the land, air, and water. And those are all having their own sets of rules. And you're kind of within those rules is a law, and what next narrative is going to be placed out there for you to consider. And I kind of feels like that there's a believe it and you'll retrieve it, and you may or may not take it in. So it feels like a lot of the stuff that we are being fed, you don't want to say it's a test, but it's a reasoning as to whether or not you're going to accept this information or not. Are you going to accept all of it? You're going to accept some of it? What parts are you going to accept? Are you going to get rid of all of it? And you and I were talking earlier about how people are able to connect and reconnect. And if you're someone who believes in multiple lives, that we've reconnected, and I'm even more now so in belief of that with the recent people I have reached out to me, that's a fact, because we've connected on so many deep, amazingly deep levels. And it's only been half a year or whatever, but I guess the one movie that kind of fixated on for me a little bit, I'm going to have to watch it again, is it had Joe Dispenza in it. And love him or hate him, I don't really care, but there's good information that's on YouTube, and it's called The One Field. I have watched it a couple times, but it's been a while. And it does talk about that quantum field, and that's exactly what you're talking about, that these people.
Yeah.
And and they have that idea, that theory, that when you think it's there. When you think something, it is. And even if you don't see it manifested in front of you, if you keep thinking that, it will manifest in your life. There are people who can have a faith in themselves, an ability with whatever it is that they've been able to facilitate. I don't want to say cleared, that's the wrong idea. Whatever they've been able to facilitate, they're able to help people who are the other side of the world just with their thoughts.
Yes.
Just with their thoughts. And that to me says, even if you don't even believe that quantum field, that should kind of set it in a better kind of a seated belief system, that thoughts are physical things. Because and where does it come from? Hey, let's step it up a notch. Not right now, because then it gets really deep. But that's like a physical thing in your head. That's a physical, whether it's a synapse or just a little spark. This is why it really bothers me about people not really having more respect for what we are calling life here, that this biofield that we're in, that we need to have a little more respect for that, because there's a consciousness in all of it, whether it's a blade of grass or the what we're calling stars in the sky, or the shirt, even whether it's organic or not. There's still a level of energetic consciousness, not self-aware, obviously, but there's still that respect that needs to be given. Thoughts are things, and we're affecting our belief system. And when you believe something, your belief system affects all of us. It affects all of us. So if you believe it and you retrieve it, whatever you're going to focus on, that's what you're going to manifest. Period.
Yeah.
So you were talking though too before about this asteroid, this crafty thing that, and then say it's coming through the fabric and it's not real. So I had written fabricated. Even that is a good example of that. If you're going to believe it, that enough people believe it,
Yeah.
it's going to be here.
I mean, they're going to have to up everything, aren't they? You know, the more we say, the more we refuse what we're seeing, you know, they're going to have to up everything. You know, they're going to have to make it stop at Mars. They're going to have to make it drop drones out. They're going to have to, you know, to me, my logic is if you've got a ship or another species of being that can travel that fast through the fabric, they should be able to send a phone call or a message saying, hey, we're coming, we're popping in for a cup of tea, human, you know, or whatever it is. But there should be more signs. There should be more awareness to, if this is a real thing, there should be a lot more awareness of what it is with true evidence. And, you know, so many people are saying they're out there in space and they're tuning into fucking Batman and Robin and the fucking Cisco Kid. And it's like, you know, okay, show me the proof, show me the evidence. Yes, I am very aware that we all have different abilities and all of this, and I'm aware of my own personal abilities. And this is what makes me question others and theirs. So it's like, all right, we are taking it up a notch, people. We are going to have a flood. This was like, I think it was last week. I'm not sure. I was on it on the day that it happened, and then I moved on. So we got a flood of information that was burst out from the sun across us. We got the ripple effect, and yes, I can hear them, and they're speaking in the background. And so they came in, they said, this is what's coming in, da 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 da. And we've gone from what we've learned in the last 10 years has been a wow factor for most of us. If you're honest with yourself, every day you're learning something new, something faster. You're being able to spell cast. You're reading and recognizing triggers and information, and you're taking back this emotional power. All right, you've shut off the feeding. You're learning to grow. What's important? Who are you? You know, who are you? And it's like, I would love it to be that we didn't have to go through any form of suffering to realize the importance of the time we have while we're here. And every fucking detail is magnificent. And until you get it, you're just going to keep fucking stumbling around in the bloody dark. Anyway, sorry. I don't know where I went with that. I know, I went on a tangent again. But, yeah, it's like they use every tactic in the book. So whatever you come up with, you know that they've got it too. So you have to go that one step further and go, Okay, it's standing right in front of you. It's totally transparent to everybody else around you, and it's looking to see if you can see it. And if you make that one movement to let it know that you can, boom, it's wiped your memory again, gone. So you just walk through it. You just walk through it and carry on about your day, all right? And it'll leave you alone. But you know that you saw it, but you can't let on. And when it comes to this, that we're creating it, we're putting this energy into it, remember that the mind can't differentiate between thought and action. So if you think it, then you've created the chemicals. The chemical response has taken place, right? Whether it's physical or whether it's mental. So if you think it, you go into that chemical space and you make those chemicals. You're an alchemist. Take control of your emotions. So anyway, tangent again, but yeah.
No, I mean, and that there's a lot of validity, and that kind of supports the same idea of, you know, whatever you are going to focus on, that is going to, and more people that do it are going to focus on it, and then everybody starts talking about it, and it's not just talking about it. That's not the bad or the negative or the helpful. What, at least to the greater good, it's the idea um, is to talk about it, but to talk about it in a way that is helpful, that is something that's going to enable us to regain some of that control that we think we have, that
Yeah,
illusion of control.
yeah.
Anyway,
You just brought something up. You know how you said law before? You
yep.
know, part of the spell casting is to look at the words backwards as well, and that's a wall. So, LAW is, you're just going to hit a brick wall. So, find
I mean,
another.
hey, it could be an oobleck wall, so maybe you can just move slower, hold
Yeah.
your breath for a long
But
time.
the other thing you were saying is like that, the whole, I'm noticing people in our circles, right, that we've known for 15, 20 years. The way they talk, what they put out there now is almost a synthetic form of what AI is. It's showing me that you're spending too much time with AI, reading AI answers, asking AI direct questions, and you're getting a doctrine that's coming out. It's stiff.
And be
Okay.
careful with it too, because it's not always accurate. Just because you come up with that doesn't mean it's accurate. Somebody put that information in there from somewhere. And if
Yeah.
you've got if it truly is AI, somebody posted enough stuff out there. If you think about what it's doing, it's
Yeah.
pulling up information off of the plethora, billions of posts out there that have matching to whatever query you put out, and
Yeah.
it's going to pull that in. That doesn't mean it's accurate.
That's
It
right.
doesn't mean that's what it is.
Yeah.
It's kind of like correlation is not causation. You know, it's just not. Sorry, me buckos.
Yeah.
We have to do our own work. We have to do our own real work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that
It.
comes with the discernment thing, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, we can program it. We can program it. Once we step into the awareness of who we are. I mean, it sort of feels like while we were all in an innocent state, if you want to call it that, um, it had control. It had control. But as soon as we started to see the system for what it was, and seeing that it wasn't actually doing the job of what it made out it was doing, taking care of us, making sure we had the basic necessities, when we started seeing that was failing, and it wasn't true, people started standing up and saying, hey, wait a minute, and this is when I see people in political positions playing games like they are with people's lives. It makes me wonder why people are so still stuck in these Stockholm stuck states. It's like it's huge. The programming is huge. And that, to me, when everybody wakes up, that's what the zombie apocalypse is going to be about. I'm sorry, I shouldn't laugh. That was evil.
Well, that's what apocalypse means. It just means that it's an education. I mean, for some it's not going to be pleasant, and for some it's going to be, oh yeah, I saw that coming. So it's a matter of perspective.
Even if you see it coming, you might not be able to get out of its way now.
Depends on how you position yourself, and you know what? You might not even really give a rip.
Oh, look, it's only 3 minutes and it's all over, so don't worry too much. Oh no, it's so bad. It's so bad. But I mean, if you entertain all of the different views, what a neat movie that is being played at the same time. I mean, okay, we've got a space turd flying at how fast? That to me is like past warp speed. And then you've got, it's not, if it's slowing down and it's getting close to these other planets that have got forms of life on it, and we're in contact, whether it's dimensionally or telepathically, where are the signals? Where are the alarm bells going off? And then you've got all the other ones behind it. Now, we started off with 7. Now there's like it's a meteor shower. No, it's not. So has a planet blown up in the distance? And this is the aftershock. I'm sorry to go these places, people. But, what kind of aliens live on a spaceship that big? And we're not picking up any kind of vocal communications or signals coming from it. And if we can hear Mars and we can hear Saturn and all these other planets around the place, and we can pick up the frequencies, how come we're not picking up, hey, my name is Charlie and I'm just flying on by, but they might fly by, but what about the rest behind them? And is the sun a portal? And is this the fleet flying through the other side of the sun? There's all these different equations coming up and people saying it is a big UFO and, what we are disclosure. How many of you out there have had experiences by seeing plasma orbs floating around, coming in close, morphing into your room saying, howdy doody, this is what I'm capable of doing. I've heard some craziest stuff. The closer this space turd gets to us, the more freakish things are going to get. It's going to allow different energies because we're going to be focusing more on different beings that might possibly be on these spaceships that are coming in, because this is the program that's being put out there. Which part of it are you going to find yourself in? I would prepare. I would start, I'm smiling because 20 years ago, I started talking about leaving codes for ourselves, looking at timestamps and what's going on. How many times have we been told this planet is going to end? I remember watching Chaos. 20,000. Woo! Everybody's going to go crazy. Anyway, we did. And this is all a big dream. This is all a big illusion. And we have to wake up now. So, yep. I went off track again. One of the messages, one of the frequencies that came in was, like I said to you, I got woken up saying, "What are you saying? Why are you saying that?" And it was Master Alien. I don't know where it came from. It was in my sleep and it blurted out. So, but it was heard. And then it was 190 degrees. There was 2 times this has come up. Earlier on in the week, it was 190 degrees. And then this morning, after that, it was 190 degrees. So I'm not sure where this is going yet, but that was the recent messages that I got. This week has been mainly focused on triggers, emotional triggers, and that to me is, how do you get the whole world's attention at the same time? If religion is broken, they're not all going to watch and see who is up there because it's broken. It's a broken energy. But if we can say there is an asteroid or an alien or the next coming or whatever, we're all going to be focused in one direction. All right, and that's the energy. It comes with sound.
All right. Using the coordinate system on the Earth, you can look it up on any kind of, whether you're heliocentric or not. It's still the degree system still works as a mapping or tracking type idea. And the 190 degrees outside of longitude, and latitude, and it ends up being something like minus 170. So it would be like a longitude of 170 degrees west of the prime meridian. So I mean, you can look that up, see if that's relevant to
Yeah,
that map system. But that's pretty much what I got out of it. Is 190 reminded me of degrees. I think of 180, as something that's,
yeah.
but this is 190, and you heard it twice,
It
and
was
it's
very
got something to
specific.
do with latitude and longitude. I mean, it's
Yeah.
outside. No matter where you go, you're still going to end up going beyond that,
The
since it's 360, if
the
you go
other
either way.
thing that came with it on the first time I heard it was I was thinking telepathy and I was getting invisibility. So I have to remember that, to put that down.
Well, that's different.
Yeah, but it was invisibility. So maybe a certain frequency is going to reveal something unseen. Okay, that's okay. Okay. All right, so I have to look up hertz as well now, damn it. All right. And this is just how they work. Oh, shit. Okay. Oh, and the other thing I got was seasonal. And it's not just, when we're looking at breaking words down and where it comes from and deeper meanings, this is like, what's your sire name? Where did your sire's name come from? So seasonal is sea sun L, and breaking it down, and I get seas on the Nile. So I have to look at a channel in the Nile, so near the Nile. So I've got, there's a few messages coming in, but I'm not sure what it means or where it's coming from just at the moment. I have seen a few different ships this week. I think we're going to see a lot of, they look like bubbles. Okay, they look like bubbles. They're translucent, but you can just see them floating through the air. And then when they turn to disappear, you'll actually see whether they go plasma or whether they go what looks like a steel, which looks like a metal ball. So, and then poof, gone. So that's a couple of the ships that we've been seeing. Oh, we've been doing a lot of discussing on the white ball orbs that come in. Now we've seen, we've witnessed and photographed footage and video of white orbs, solid, coming in over the house, coming down between us and shooting off between us. And it had a trail behind it. So it was almost like a rugby ball or a football. Shoo. And we've seen, he came running in one day to get me because there was a big white one hovering just above his head when he was outside working. And by the time he got in to get me to come out to have a look, it was gone. Then there was, I capture them flying past in twos, and they like the fluffy cloud. They like to go in between the fluffy clouds. And we also had one that zigzagged out of nowhere, came into view from nowhere. It zigzagged and it went into the old Hercules that they've just retired.
You're talking about an aircraft.
Oh yes, I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not everybody's gonna. They're gonna think of. Okay, there goes Stone.
Yeah.
Aircraft.
So
Yeah.
there's a lot of different craft already here. You know, when we break up our focus and we're looking, everywhere at once, we know we've got energy. We know we're feeding lots of different sources with that energy. But then when they turn around and get that hand over here working together, like the space junk up there and all these other links, what are they projecting out there that we're not aware of the technologies that they can do? Are these satellites projecting an image for us to see now? And we're under a dome watching it? Of course, if you get a telescope and look out there, you're going to see it. It's a projection. We can all see it.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of people who have theories about whether or not there is such a thing as outer space. We all
Yeah.
know that there's obviously inner space, and when you talk about even the terminology, and this is not, revelatory or anything like that, but we kind of forget the terminology and make the programmed assumptions, and the programming is so deep that when you start talking about things and you talk about an ET, an extraterrestrial, all right, you want to get into words, it's extra land. It's land outside of what we have mapped. And so the wording is quite bland and blank. And, this has been mentioned before too. When I lived in New Zealand, I was the alien. When he was here, he was the alien. What did they have it that they used? Guess what? It was a green card. And the card wasn't even green.
Yeah.
So, the language is very much out there that you can figure it out on your own. But because we all do it. We make these assumptions because it's what we've been told that it is. Got to start watching it.
Yeah.
Got to start watching it, and it's going to be the little things that are going to catch us, and it's going to, kind of make us miss something important. Whatever it is that's relevant to you, it has the potential of having us miss what's going to be relevant.
Yeah.
I don't know, man.
Well, what was it? Well, this is it, one of the things that gets me, it's a trigger to this whole thing, is because of the day that it was first noticed. That's an important date to me. Okay, it's one that I can't ever leave behind. So I found it interesting that suddenly there's this space turd on radar, and it's flying through space. So I look at how big that trigger is for my attention to be focused on it. So I'm like, I'm that, no, that's not happening. I recognize what's going on. I'm not paying it that attention. So, there's a little bit there, just to keep an eye on it in case they land and start looking. But otherwise, it's just.
I think, land, I think they're already here. I mean, I don't know if there's even anything that can land on the land that it's already here. And there was something that you mentioned last week that I found to be, speaking of land, that I found to be really interesting, is that you mentioned the sands over in the east, that those used to be seas. The whole thing used to be a sea.
Yeah.
Everywhere you look used to be a sea. And if you take the Bible and the other ancient texts, that the water was separated from the water.
Yeah.
What does that mean? And, even in Michigan, in Lake Michigan, quite a deep little piece of pond there, but you can go down there and you can see there's like a Stonehenge and pyramids and all kinds of interesting things down there. So even though it was sea, when those seas were separated, everything was dry. We didn't have rain. We had the dew, and everything was available. All of it was available. So if you think about it, the lands beyond this, everything was accessible. And it's only through the manipulations that have gone on through the eons, not millennia, but through the eons, that this feels like that this is what's going on. This is me talking off the top of my head. It would be great if this is inspiration for, seriously, you look into this. But again, we have to be, I just tied something in a knot because I'm fidgeting.
Okay.
It's inspiration for us to look in and figure out what's the truth and what is the lie. And here's the interesting part. Be careful of facts. And I heard this earlier today, because facts will change.
Yeah.
Facts will change. Facts are different than truth, which I found to be, it's like, oh my gosh, I never really thought about that. Look at the facts. Well, what bases their whole theories and their theorems on? Facts. It's this religion of science.
Yeah.
But facts can change. That's why science is constantly changing. And then there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
That's part of the growth process. But then again, it's just like a type of religion, because people get very, very defensive about it. They're passionate about it, and they're willing to defend it, and they're willing to cut you off at the knees if you disagree with them.
That's, you see, facts to me is just, it's just an F act. Right? It's just a fact. Yeah, it's not real. It's not real. It's fact. It's not real. Yeah. And the other thing I was like, when you were saying there, so okay, so we've just said, if you look at the planet at the moment, we've got all these massive floods and flash floods and dams bursting, and as man who created the dam bursts, wipes out all the neighborhood, and then the council that created the dam can come back and reclaim the land and start again. And this time they can make smart cities for the next one. So, and then I look at, okay, all the mud floods, Titarians and all this, then I look at the mining, being raised in the mines up in the Pilbara region. How do streams of ore or metal or gold come about? How is it compressed into such a small vein and then harvested? And then it takes me back to all these flash floods and stuff. And if you've got a build-up of cars, they're pretty much metals. So if you push all of that together, and it gets compacted, how many years later is it going to be before it becomes an actual mining resource? So at the end of the day, we're out there, we're harvesting the lands of its minerals and its essence, and then we're giving it to the masters who claim it, and then we buy it back, and then we put it gets taken away from us and put into another vein for another however long, for them to come back and then do this all over again. So when we start looking into, how the industries come about, who's got what families have managed to dip into what areas, it's going to fall down pretty fast. It's going to fall down pretty fast. So, yeah, I'll get my bug out bag ready. Have you? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I've got
All
to.
those people in North Carolina, I think that was North Carolina a few years ago, they all had their bug out bags, and a lot of them didn't make it.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know,
that's the
you
thing.
just have to have the confidence and the faith and the self assuredness to know that
You can
you're
feel
gonna
it.
do what needs to be done,
Yep.
and it is gonna you're gonna do what needs to be done. I don't know how else to put it, because the whole thing where you're talking about floods when we had 2020 going on. I'm not gonna use the C word. We had 2020 going on. At that same time, we had torrential,
Yeah.
unseasonably heavy rains. My basement windows, I had not been in the house for maybe a year, and I have quite large basement windows. And they were the original ones, so they were quite old. And you could still see in the putty, you could see the contractor's thumbprints in them. So having said that, I was like, what is that noise? And literally off the sill was this arc of water that came out. It was a sheet of water that came out and was coming down into my basement.
Oh,
Great. I had a little stream. So, that's how much water was coming in. The window well was like, oh my gosh, I hope the window doesn't break. The whole window well was almost completely full of water.
yeah,
So the thing is, though, the reason we had all of this water, that we were shut down for almost 2 weeks.
yeah,
Granted, people weren't supposed to go out anyway. We couldn't go out anywhere.
yeah,
I'm a mile and a half outside or away from a major. It's not super deep usually. I think it's like 5 feet to 8 feet deep, but it's quite a long and windy river. And that river, it crests at like 20, 26 feet. I can't remember, but it's in the 20s. That river had so much water dumped into it that it went up and over the banks well over 30 feet. So
yeah,
what ended up happening was a lot of people lost their homes, but it wasn't just the rain. The
yeah,
rain, there were towns north of us, and the river does run south through here. There were 3 dams that broke,
yeah,
all within a day or so. So this lake that was north of me is still to this day a bog.
yeah,
They all three of those dams broke. The interesting thing is, one of the areas that are up there that were affected by all this rush of water were these brine ponds cleaning up from Dow Chemical.
yeah.
And Dow Chemical was up there. So all that stuff got washed into our water, all downriver, down to Flint, down into Detroit. So they all have to, God only knows for how long. I see people because I have to cross the bridge for that. But we could not leave the house for 10 days because all those dams broke. So
Yeah,
what happened to the money that was supposed to be for reconditioning and making the upkeep? It was the local governments. It wasn't big government. It was local governments that affected all these people's lives.
yeah,
Whole bridges were washed out. The
yep.
floodplain was so saturated. It came out when we finally did go out. Of course, they're very clever here because the road that runs right next to it is called River Road. So we're driving on River Road, and it was covered in silt and yuck. And these poor people, none of the homes were lost, but that water came up so far. I looked at it. There was a 500-year floodplain, and I was well outside of that. But that water came up a little less than a mile from where we lived. But we were still affected by all of that. And all those people had to figure out a way to get their homes either redone. Some people lost their homes. Midland, which is where Dow Chemical is at, if you were one side of the road, people lost their homes. On the other side, they were virtually unaffected.
Yeah.
So, and that's where some of the money is.
Yeah.
It was the, yeah. So everything is kind of orchestrated with that sort of thing. And each region, that's why I feel like things are going to happen regionally, and it's going to be unique to your region. That's going to probably, I don't want to say bring people to their knees, but it's going to hopefully bring people to a point that before something catastrophic happens, that
Yeah.
how do we fix this? How do we avoid the tower moment? So we need to make people aware of what's going on in the world and avoid the tower moment. And we don't have to necessarily go out and beat on doors and do protests or anything like that. But your mere awareness and talking about it with other people will raise that awareness and hopefully change the trajectory enough. It's like when you go on that long trip, you start off a little bit, but as you continue, you're going to be off in a completely different direction as you continue.
Oh, yeah.
So I think one of the things, maybe this kind of cycles into what you were saying before, is that we are going to try and do something where we're going to have more structured content, not just so much that it's going to be structured per se, but it's about world events.
Yeah.
And I do the best I can. I have other things and other projects, and I'm doing my own stuff here and my full-time job until something happens. Good, hopefully, will happen. But yeah, world events. We do need, and I'm not good with that. I'm really not. So if you say, hey, this is what I see, and you highlight all this, I'm going to pull it all in and I can do my own thing because I got my own. I don't use normal browsers necessarily. I use different browsers. That's not going to pull up US stuff. I can pull up, and I can actually switch things by my VPN. So if I pick a different area for my VPN, it'll pick up different sites.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, one of the things I want to do is get a group of people that from around the world, wherever they are, put it on the map so we get to know the truth of what's going on in each of the locations. Because I don't believe anything that's going on out there, but I do. I've been in man-made storms. The cyclone came across where I was living, and just we came back out of protection, and there was nothing there. The whole house was gone. The house and the garage was gone. And we lived in the remains of what was there it was like a tilted garage and some tents. And that was it until the house was rebuilt. So we've lost everything several times in floods. The location I was in before I moved here, before I moved down to the Waikato, we knew something wasn't right. We knew water had started coming up from under the ground. We'd reported it and all of this. This is when we saw the 15-degree shift, tilt, right? The change. This water started coming. We started getting these holes, strange patterns of holes in the ground. And we thought, okay, well, what kind of insect would do that? What kind of animal would do that? Who's messing with us too? What alien craft is landing in our in our yard? And then we started getting water sprouting up at the front and places that wouldn't normally. And then we started seeing cracks across the concrete driveway. And I'd said that the powers that be will let us know when we have to go. And within 2 weeks of getting a message, we were out of there. And 2 weeks later, that whole neighborhood, it was all over the news, was underwater. It had flooded. It had never flooded to that extreme as far as this council had ever recognised. So it was like, okay, and then the year after that, the same areas flooded again. So there has been some, when we get the shift, I think we feel it. We feel a bit out of balance as well, and we have to start, climatizing ourselves, and we'll topple over, and we will feel it in different ways. Our frequencies have to realign with us. But we manage it. And I think that's what's happening at the moment as well, is there's all this realigning and waking up in different levels. We've got a lot of different areas. You think you've covered your spectrum of shadow work that you're doing, and then it goes to the next level. All right, and then it's like, wow, okay, I didn't think I could go that deep. I didn't think that even existed. And then you go to the next level. So when you start feeling yourself, should this start occurring to you, when you start feeling this, remember what you've experienced in the previous chapter of that. All right, and you'll get through it faster, you'll pick up more information, and you'll be more in control of your emotions, because you'll know what the triggers are, you recognize them, and you're just going to turn around and say, no, you're not having it anymore. So there's a lot of that awareness waking up as well. Seeing how they use others, like recent scenario, others, once you recognize who they use against you and you stop that from happening, then they'll use the next circle around, okay, the next layer. And when they do that, it's really interesting, watching the different levels. Like you go through, okay, well, how long is this going to take, right up to they're playing games, people mind games, to, I'm a targeted individual, why are they doing this? You go through all of the different overthinking stages, and then you go, okay, maybe it's totally innocent. Maybe it is just a malfunction along the way and a limited capacity of how to fix it, how to come up with a fast solution. And so it's like, stay calm, give yourself that breather. It might take more than one day, it might take a week. All right, but you allow yourself that breathing time so that we don't end up regretting our actions that we take. All right, because remember, the thought and the action still have the same chemical response. All right, anyway, you. Dun 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 dun.
Da, 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 da. I think that's pretty much a standard fare for how your brain works.
Yeah.
I mean, we think that we know what's going on, but we really don't. Um, and I really kind of feel like that when we highlight things or keep our eye on certain events, that what we're thinking about, we're going back to the thinking thing. Well, whatever it is that we're thinking about, it's oh, you're just looking at negative news stories and negative this and negative blah blah blah. Well, no, not really. You're looking to see what they're trying to pump out in their programming.
Yeah.
This is how I'm looking at it. They're pumping information out into this programming. Whether it's real or not is irrelevant. What you do with that information is most relevant, because it's not pie in the sky positive thinking. It's about, if it is something, well, you need to, and we need to, and I need to use that discernment and have a process of positive outcomes. And personal event, something really horrible I learned about, well, it could have been really horrible news, but you don't know what it was about. Go figure that out. But
Yeah.
it was horrible news that I didn't know the details of. And I knew about it 2 or 3 weeks ago. So I could have sat there and ruminated over things and really spun a
Yeah.
very, very dark web. And my choice at that point, when I learned about it, was like, okay, thanks for letting me know. See you then. Um, so I had to kind of rush to kind of organize a few things because I got details of when a meeting was supposed to take place, and I had to get some support for it, and I had to coordinate that my own. Not to mention not knowing what the heck was going on. I ended up deciding over that 2 or 3 week period of, irrespective of all the shit and shenanigans that have been going on, I decided my tack was going to be exactly that. I began positive thinking no matter how dark the picture they had. And it was
Yeah.
like, hanging over you. I made the concerted, and it was not easy. Every day, every minute, every single thought was brought into check, and I had envisioned positive outcomes. And you have no freaking idea how easy that meeting was. And I'm not sitting there talking to some peer or someone who's just one level up. I'm talking about we're talking up, and I got two of them. So it was one of those things where I could have very easily been intimidated, but I was not. It was a very pleasant um, topic, refuted. Um, they were smiling. They were very pleasant. Whether they're doing that behind your back, I don't know. That's irrelevant. That's on them. I took that positive energy that they gave me and said, beautiful.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Now, whether that's going to happen on their end, that's on them.
Yeah.
This is what I take. And I'm telling you, it's been an amazing, amazing a day, a week.
Yeah.
You said, yeah, it's been a week. Yeah, it could have been a real shit show for me,
Yeah.
you know, and it's not just, one person that's affected. Like I said, when you go through something like this and you don't take that positive, and take that, what something could be very horribly negative. Oh, bad things always happen to me. Nothing ever works out for me. When you flip that and say, well, yeah, that's not really exactly the funnest thing you've ever had to do, but
Yeah.
I'm going to take this not really as a learning thing, but it is. I'm going to take this as a very positive thing, and I know how to protect myself better. I know how to speak to people more effectively. I'm not intimidated anymore, I guess is a short way of putting it. I'm
Yeah.
really not intimidated by basically, and
Anyone.
I'm not going to say what would intimidate me because it's pretty horribly violent. But words can be pretty horrible. Words can be pretty devastating. And that didn't happen today. And I feel like that this was a power of manifestation that I worked on literally for 3 weeks. And
Yeah.
I'm super stoked that the fact that all that work I did, because I could have been up.
Yeah.
I could have had sleepless nights over this. That first night I learned about it, I think you and I talked. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, I'm probably not going to sleep much.
Yeah.
And I really didn't sleep very well that night. But since then, I thought, screw this noise. What's the worst?
Yes.
No, I'm not even going to entertain that. I'm going to say, this is the best. This is what I envision happening. And it far exceeded that. It far
Yeah.
exceeded that. So I'm totally on board. I'm pushing Augie's book again because Augie's book is really the foundation for that spiritual science book. That's the foundation of it. And that and Neville Goddard, reading his stuff. It's such a great foundation for making your life better. Period. End of story.
Yeah. Oh, you just got to stay calm enough to listen to the inner voice. You know, that's
You
where
may not have you may not have the time to do that. That's the creepy
oh,
deepy thing.
yeah, no, I think we all do. I think we all do. It's like we know what's right, we know what's wrong. We don't want to hurt fellow man because it's already stressful enough as it is.
I
Being
know a few people that would like to cut some people off the knees, right?
oh,
Let's embrace the dark side, shall
yes. Well, what you did was you were transmuting, negative possible outcomes into positive energy. It's like what is the point in stressing and worrying about it? It's gonna be what it's gonna be, and you're not gonna know until it happens.
It's
So
just like the weather. What? Quit bitching about the weather, will you?
I've enjoyed the weather because we've had no cold water. But the rain wasn't too bad. It's bloody cold, but it wasn't too bad. So now the water has returned.
Ugh.
Yes.
Yeah, that's
Oh,
horrible. We've been without water. I remember when I was a kid, we had it where we
hey,
had
Susan.
moved out of the city and into a more rural setting. We were on a septic, and the septic failed. And my dad was a building contractor, and we were renting the home. Imagine like 7 of us in this house, right? And it was a little house. And yeah, the septic broke. So nothing like a good old bucket and an open septic. My dad knew how to dig it, but I mean, like, he only had a shovel. You make do. You make do. You do what needs to be done to make things work. You
Yeah,
can get real graphic with.
yeah. My mind was thinking something else the other day when I went into town to get some water. Uh, no, I didn't actually. I had to get shopping, but no. When I was in there, it was like, oh, what is this? There's this tool, and it's like I look closer, and it's a military it's a military fold out shovel, and it folds right down. It's compactable, and I was thinking, well, what do you want me to look at that for? And I had a laugh all the way out of the shop. I didn't buy it. Okay, it gave me a flashback memory of when I went camping with my two of my sister siblings. And we had one of those. We had to dig a shithole, okay, a bog hole, and
Mhm.
and then we had to clean it, and then we had to use it as our fry pan. We had to dig a hole to have our fire pit. It's like, what do I need that for? And I'm like, okay, so what do I do when I come home? I get the toilet rolls, I go and get a bucket of water, and I start doing this whole preparing. It's like, okay, am I going without water for a reason? Is this a wake up call for me? It's a sign I've got to take notice of. So like the next time it happens, I'm not going to wait a whole week. I'm just going to go and buy a tank load of bloody water if I have to, and purify it my own way, and then just send the bill to the farmer landlord. So
Yeah. Yeah.
it's like there's no mistakes.
Yeah.
There is, but that's a
Yeah.
knowing mistake. But if you look at it and you break down that word, it's mistake. So you get the chance to do it again. Do it till you get it the way you need it. Right? This is the whole thing about being who we are. If you want a positive outcome, you're always going to be right. No matter if you know and you're fully aware that you're wrong, you always can find a way to make it right in your own head, in your own space, and to those around you. How many times you need to lie? We don't need to lie. That's the thing. Everybody's life is just as valuable as the next. We have so much magic within us that together we're amplified. We're amplified. And the theys and the thems don't want us to know our abilities, our capabilities of being able to heal thyself, to heal thy village, and so on and so on. But when you hear the negative and you go, no, there's got to be a positive in there somewhere. There's got to be some magic in there. Where's that coming from? Is that the person's experience, or is that the actual, elements that are going on within there? Because when we go through life, we're given programs all the way along. Through these programs, we build, no matter what the circumstance, we build transferable skills. It's only recently that you're able to now add it, if you've got it, if you're aware of it. Your transferable skills page. What skills did you get from learning how to have to go and poop in a bucket? What skills did you get from having to know to go and get water from a river down there without falling in, and then come back and fill the right end of the toilet up so you could flush it? That we as a human species learn by practice. Our ancestors would have picked up a poisonous fruit and eaten it and found out that it was going to kill them, so they didn't eat it anymore. Just like the monkeys and the birds and everything else out there. We are no different. When you learn that something is kaka, you move on and you make it better. All right? So you got to stay calm. You got to be aware of all the programs that are out there. The technology that they have out there is not what they're telling you. What I'm aware of, there should be no murders unsolved. There should be no missing people. See, this is the other thing. Why are there so...
Oops. She disappeared. She may have been struck by lightning. So yeah, there are a lot of missing people. And it's different reasons as to why they're missing, but most of them, I think people are aware of the fact that I mean, it's just not the same. It's just not the same reason that they're missing. But even in the 80s, where they were on the ebb, and even the 90s, where they had the kid or the adult or whoever it was missing on the side of the milk carton, you still see postings every now and again for missing people, and a lot of kids. But they might be being used for different reasons. They might be, just, there you are. No, it was just about, like, there are different reasons as to why so many are missing, but people are so numb to that type of narrative that they don't want to hear it anymore. They're sick and hearing of it because there's no answer. Well, there's no one silver bullet. The people are missing for different reasons.
Yeah.
Some of them are really being done or done in by family. Some are being done in for other nefarious reasons. And some of them, let's face it, will do themselves in. There was one guy that was a YouTuber. He just disappeared. And when they finally really did like investigations on it, it was like the guy was depressed. He had failing this, failing that, facing bankruptcy. Really? You really think they went out there and kind of was like, yeah, I'm going to do this? No, they probably just got discouraged and that was it.
Yeah. I'm seeing an increase in murder suicides.
Yes.
And this is in it should come under age concern, as we get older and stuff, and this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing that these, the elderly, they're not coping. They're not able to keep the heat on. They're not able to go and do the rounds that they used to do. It's getting harder and harder for them to survive. And the system is not designed for them to survive,
So
so.
I wonder how much of that is the news narrative, because when I was studying this just a couple of 3 years ago, they were talking about the highest suicide rate was in, I think it was men like 50 and older,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
they just didn't have anything else to look forward to. And we've both been down that path at various stages in our life, and that was one of the reasons why I kind of feel like that, feeling that I'm healed enough that I can help other people avoid that path. I meet people almost every day that have already been down that path, some of
Yeah.
them multiple times, and you try to keep them on the same on a healthy trajectory in their life, but it's still up to them.
Yeah.
And each, like I say, each one of us has a different reason for having walked that path, but you still have to realize that, am I gonna do something better? What can I do to help not just myself, but other people with it too?
Mm.
I think, again, we have to be careful with that narrative, because the narrative that I got was that it was age 50 and up, and for them to give us that it's the elderly. Are they doing that and using it for a reason for euthanasia?
Yeah, I would say so. It goes back to the whole Deagle report, doesn't it? Yeah.
And Michigan has a zero suicide initiative. So we have to be very, very careful with that. We have to interview every single encounter I have. We have to ask a certain narrative. And even though it's like, yeah, I know you got to ask me those questions again, but
Yeah.
it's important, because people can get numb to that, and you're going to miss those little cues from people. You're going to know if somebody really wants to do it, they're going to do it.
Yeah.
But you
They're not
have to
going to
you
tell
have
you
to be
about it.
aware of it.
Yeah. They won't
Mm.
tell you about it. They'll just get it done.
On that cheery note,
Yes, I know. But we talk real topics here, okay? We talk real topics. It's all under entertainment at the end of the day, and this is our adventure, you know. Whew. Fun adventures, isn't it? Fun
I'm
adventures.
ready for the popcorn. Okay, I'm really, really ready for some popcorn, baby. I got me a big popcorn popper. I'm ready to use it.
Well, I'm enjoying ghosts at the moment. I'm enjoying ghosts. I think they're
But
awesome.
what is a ghost? Let's ask a really basic question, because what is a ghost? What
Well,
is it?
there's different sorts. There's different sorts. I mean, one's just I see it as, if you go, because I used to do this. I used to do paranormal hunting, ghost hunts, and I would go out there, and there would be a loop. So at a certain time every day, with the same temperature, you're going to find a ghost wandering through a hallway. It's not going to interact with you. It's just going to move past, because it's just it's a loop. It's stuck. It's a memory stuck in time. And then you get the ones that start communicating back, moving things, touching you, and all of this. The orbs showing up. I love that. I love that. And I get into communicating with them. Now it seems like the spirit realm it's not asleep, it's waking up. We are doing work here on, like, it's almost like a forgiveness. I don't really do the forgiveness at all. Respect is earned. Forgiveness, you shouldn't need to be forgiving anybody for anything. Now, the forgiveness that I'm talking about is this type of freedom. It's a type of knowing in the freedom that you faced it, you've dealt with it, there's nothing more to be achieved from it. Move on. All right, this is the freedom. You're letting yourself detach from the energy harvesting that was going on, the stuck states that it was creating for you. And in the communications on the spirit realm, this is the same thing that's going on at the moment. So I'm seeing a lot more communication. I've had shadow beings walking around this house since it moved in here, cupboards opening and closing and this sort of thing. Now it's, okay, communicate with me. Stop, you've got my attention, let's communicate what's going on. And what I'm seeing is basically the information that we're getting as we're moving into a higher level of awareness and conscious thought. Okay, conscious thought being the actions and creations, whether it's internal, external. You are aware of the thought, you are aware of the creation that you are creating. This means why you're creating it, what it's going to be used for, energy recognition. And on the spiritual realm, I believe that is going on as well, because it's still connected to our dimensions. They don't just die and go. I don't see it as that. There'll be telltale signs that they'll come back. You'll feel them, you'll smell them, you'll sense them. You know they're in the room with you, communicating with you. Those veils are so thin now, because when people talk about the thinning of the veil, that's thinned as soon as you change your perception of what the veil is. It's like the law, the wall, okay? Remove it out of your way. It doesn't exist. It doesn't need to be there anymore. All right, turn it round, remove that veil. And so it's like, I know you're there. I know I'm talking to you. I know I can feel you. So then you start getting the impressions of their character. You start feeling words coming out that you know are not your own words. So this is starting to happen. And if you don't recognize when it's happening, you may actually end up facilitating a walk-in. So there are other avenues that are going on right now. What are you looking so complex for?
No, I'm kind of trying to analyze a video. I mean, not a video, but an image, and I think that a lot of times when we start,
It's like,
it's a squirrel moment
yeah,
for
where's
me.
she going with this? Where's she going with this? Yeah. So they're going to give you a higher level of information from their spiritual realm. And with our awareness on a higher level as well, there's going to be that level of dimensional communication. Okay, anyway, I think it's lost on.
No. I mean, and maybe that was kind of like the tie-in for it, because when you really start examining something, and this kind of maybe things start to change shape and perspective and facets. You become more aware of other facets of maybe an object or a thing or even an idea. Only because I experience aura migraines, and they're really bizarre because I'll get this strand of typically like triangular conglomerations of things.
Yeah,
I don't know if they're 3D or if maybe I'm just perceiving them as two, but they don't really like rotate. They usually just kind of are there, and they don't really move around a lot. They don't move with my eye, but they stay. It's not like they float. So if I
yeah,
move my eye like that, it moves exactly like the way my eye does. The problem is when the light dims, that there is like this blank spot. So it's like a gray cloud or a whitish gray cloud. I cannot see through that portion of my vision. And then the headache starts. And the longer that the vision is there,
oh,
the longer the migraine starts. But what it's done is it gets you to examine. Of course, me, I'm kind of an trying to analyze what's the antecedent, what caused that, why am I seeing this, why is the shape different this time than the other time. So even though I'm sitting there going, oh my God, my head hurts, I'm sitting there going, okay, so this one was different. So it's the same kind of thing. If we're able to, and that's that, it's not really detachment because you're still engaged. I'm still engaged very much with the pain, but you're still able to have enough of an awareness that to be able to effectively examine what's going on. You know what does that
Yeah.
make kind of sense? Or
Yeah. 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 It does. While you were saying that, while you have to be able to recognize the energies that are coming in. When you were saying that, it was like, if you are getting these attacks or you get these headaches and migraines, do you recognize where they're coming from? Have you had your house blessed and all of this cleansed?
so I have never had them. I don't think so. I don't think I've ever had them happen at home. And they've
Okay.
happened at various places during work. Um, so there might be a couple of biological reasons as to why:
Yeah.
stress,
Yeah.
dehydration. There also, I don't know if there's any kind of like a mineral imbalance or a metal imbalance, but that sort of thing that's already been kind of checked out. And I've medically been checked out, that sort of thing. But I get, oh, Carly, they don't know what causes it. I was like, stressed as hell, man. Um, so I guess that's part of it. And I think the last 3 weeks has been a really good example of how to manage that level of stress. Okay, I'm feeling really stressed. I have enough water here. I have to force myself to drink because I get really focused and I'll do something till I drop. So being really focused is great, but you still have to look after yourself and know when to stop and get up and move and do whatever needs to be done to keep this
Yeah.
physical thing going. And when you're basically, even though you have an employer, you're still kind of operating as I consider myself an entrepreneur because I'm responsible for my own production, for my own quality of work. So set the bar up here and hopefully I make it to here. But I
Yeah.
set the bar up here. And that's the idea behind it for me. But I have no idea where the hell I was going with that.
Do you think you've got, okay, I was going to ask you, the facility that you work at, do you get a lot of death? Has there been a lot of death there?
Not specifically at the facility itself, no.
All right.
People come there to find relief from whatever stress they're
So
going
it's
through.
emotion.
Mental, physical, because it's an all encompassing. Even though I work in the mental health side, they have everything there. There's the pharmacy and
Yeah.
treatment, like a little treatment thing there. There's medical. There's a blood lab, so they do
Yeah.
not just the phlebotomy stuff, but they'll also do urine drops and all that kind of fun stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of stuff that goes on within that building, but typically there are a lot of people that will come in there and yeah, they got some stuff going on, man.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. No, the reason I was asking is sometimes, wayward souls, if you want to call them that, will
oh
attach. And if you are feeling sick somewhere in your body, or you've got an issue somewhere in your body, when they need to feed off energy to make connection with whoever it is they're trying to connect with, or show themselves to you, they will make it's like, if I go into somebody's house to do a blessing and stuff, a cleansing, sometimes I find there'll be a party in the household who is sick, and they're
yep,
all sick, and as soon as the spirit has been cleared from the place, that person starts to get better again. So I see it as the spirit is harvesting energy off the sickness. It's not, in a lot of cases It's not that they deliberately want to make that person sicker. It's more
I
like
mean,
that.
it's like that would make sense if there was no practical reason for it. If you have a position that's extremely stressful, so you have to have a healthy mind and make sure that you're from a spiritual and psychiatric and psychological aspect,
Yeah.
that you're protected in whatever means that you're going to put out there for that. I do that. I don't just pop right up out of bed and get ready and go. I take my time, and I don't have like an exact routine, but I'm very much aware of having that gratitude and the protection before I step in my car.
Oh, that's
Um,
good.
and it's got to be before I step in my car, because once that's when my day starts, really. When you start your day, a lot of times is when your feet hit the floor. For me, not so much. I kind of feel very relaxed at home, but when I step in that car, and that's just for me, that's when the day starts. That's when you start warming up, and all that protection is coming with me. There's a lot of gratitude that has to go into it. The downside is once you get into that concentration mode, and I push my own go button, that's where there needs to be a little bit of a shift, maybe, because there has to be a periodic offloading of some of the stressors. And that's starting to happen, where you just have to take those breaks.
Yeah.
Where I was going in and I was doing the 9 or 10 hours straight and not really taking a break, struggling to even take a sip of water. Coffee is going to be gone, but the water, I won't think about the water in the afternoon. And that's so hugely critical to start it, even when I'm still drinking my coffee. So that is in the process of being shifted, because that those things are painful.
Yeah.
Uh, Plus, it's a little inconvenient when I'm trying to type a note and they're going, Deb's kind of twitchy today because she's like, ugh. So I got to still do my documentation and whatnot. But everybody's got to do their own thing to try and stay healthy and helpful in whatever it is that you're doing.
Yeah.
Uh,
I mean,
and it's unique
I
for everybody.
was looking at, why are we here? What is the purpose that we're here? This is, we get a big why. This is one of the biggest questions as a human that we ask. Why did that happen? Why did that happen to me? What's the purpose? And it's like, okay,
The
so
lesson.
I'm not working alone. I know that I'm not working alone. For that to have happened, that was not done by me. If you think it was done by you, if somebody says you did it and you're like, wow, okay, I'm a powerful being then, if that's the case. Step into you're going to be more positive to your higher self. You are going to take over the role of your higher self. All right, this is you stepping in. You're now going to become the guardian of your inner child, your inner knowledge, your Akashic records. You've got something to protect. You've got you to protect. All right, you had this amazing journey so far, and your adventures are golden. All right, and so this is the energy. This is us stepping into that higher version of ourselves, being nicer to ourselves, allowing the organic and the inner self to work together. The higher self. It's basically an energy ball for me. When I talk about it, I see that energy that I've seen in different experiences that I've had. So I feel privileged in having that. But it's an undulating energy, and we can all put just a little fraction in and create something so huge that it can go around and it can heal. And so this is where I'm working towards, is like, it's hard work being here, but you can turn every experience into a positive experience. We are all storytellers. We all tell ourselves stories to get home, whether it's, well, I've got to go to work today and I've got to do this, this, and this. Well, that's a story because it could change just like that. But these are the little stories that we tell ourselves. Oh, I'm okay on the inside, and you can turn it. You can say, okay, well, today I'm having a day off and I can be as depressed as I want to be. But I know that I can switch out of that state and back into being positive and going forward. And you start recognizing in others around you their states and levels of, if they're depressed, if they're hurt in some way, how far in their own heads they are and how awake they are. We start going, okay, we're going to clean up the mess that's here, right? We no longer want this level of division. We want to be able to communicate telepathy, with telepathy. We want to communicate. See, I can't. There you go. You know what I'm saying without me saying it.
Do we need a translator? I don't think so. I mean, I think you're close enough, right?
Yeah. 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 At the end of the day, the oldest language of all is pictures, right? Pictures. And we can all pick up a pen and paper or a stick in the dirt and we can draw a picture. That's all I have to say. If an alien is standing in front of you and you're like, oh no, it doesn't understand my language, draw them a picture. Okay? Yeah. Mine will be a pot of tea. Let's go and have a cup of tea. And let's talk about it, Transparency, exposure, and accountability. What are you doing here? This is my planet. This is like we're in such fun times. We're in such times of discovery. We've got, we can use the internet to just communicate with each other, but as long as we don't forget the other jobs, like the general house cleaning, the communication amongst communities, looking after the animals on the farm, looking after your inner self. Make sure you don't forget that along the way. You are important and you do count. You do count. We got so much shit that's going on. I mean, look at the wars that are going on. I mean, yeah, all we got to do
They're
is
real. They're real.
yeah. I saw a video the other day where somebody said, oh, this is a recent flood, tsunami flood, of yesterday. And it was something I'd seen a couple of weeks ago. I'm like, you've got to look at everything twice. Some of these destruction videos, like I saw this large character getting pushed down the stream, only to see he had a third arm. I'm like, hey, no, wait a minute. Back the track up and let's have a look. Good stuff, but it'll still have the details, the small details that will stand out and show you that there's distortion in there. You've got to look for the distortion because there's so much of it out there now that's on the internet, that's on the screens everywhere. So it's incredible. I've listened to some crazy music this week and it's all AI generated. And I couldn't believe it. My friend said, oh, listen to this old country and western. And I started listening to it and I'm working away and I'm like, oh my God, that word can't be in there. Oh my God, what the hell is that? So I went and looked at it and it's like they've turned country and western songs, put it into some AI program and regenerated the music into an R18 soundtrack. And I'm like, what? No wonder nobody's going to want to go out there and make music or they're going to get off the stages. They're going to do all of that because this is like the deep fake is coming to the surface.
100%. I mean, I got nothing. I got nothing. I mean, everything's going to get revealed, I guess, in its own way, and people are only going to accept whatever it is that's going on to their ability. It's only going to be what they're going to be willing to accept.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, I'll run out of steam unless I read a card. How are you doing? Yeah, let's pull a card.
Let's pull a card or two.
Yeah, let's pull a card. All right. Tell me, mystical cards. Tell me more of 3 IX. Is it a space turd? Or is it occupied? All right, so the first one is to find out space turds. Then a card for this week. What have I got to look forward to this week? All right, here we go. Glasses are on. Oh, it's a big one. Wild and wonderful. Okay. Why focus on limitations and realism? Breakthroughs and miracles require no linear explanation nor method. Unexplainable and illogical magic happens every day. I like that one. But it's my question is more about the AI. So when I'm aware of what I'm aware of. I mean, this. Okay, there you go. You can have a little look. See, there's my plasma orbs. That kind of tells me that it's alien. Okay, but because there's a creator standing there, I also am of the biased nature that it is AI designed. So, I'm of two minds on this pulling of this card because of my biasness. But if I look at it like that, it's basically saying this is like I can see this big reptilian eye in it, and the person inside it is the pupil. Okay, where is it? Reptilian eye. There's top there. Okay, reptilian eye, and she's the pupil in there in the eye. So to me, that's telling me that it's a reptilian alien craft coming in to eat up all the humans. I know I should be serious about this, but I'm not. Okay, and the realistic one for me, you will get there. And I know that. I know I'm going to get there because that is what I told my kids I wanted on my headstone. She was always just getting there. All right, and it says, you can't force flowers to grow or plants to sprout. Be patient and respectful, and everything happens in its own way and time. So go with the flow, stay calm, remember to recognize you. Now, that's all I've got this week. How about yourself?
Ooh. Well, hang on here. I gotta switch a couple of windows on overachiever here. So this is integration.
Okay.
And it's like an integration maybe of information. So the frequency of integration supports our embrace of every aspect of ourselves, allowing what we perceive as positive and what we perceive as negative to harmonize in a balanced symphony of life. And that's about no matter what it is, no matter what information you're pulling in, what you choose to give your attention to, that's ultimately what you are doing. It doesn't mean you have to do it.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you have to integrate everything you perceive, whether it's negative or a positive, but whatever it is that you're going to be bringing in, is going to be important that you use your discernment to make sure it's going to take you on the path that you want to be on, if that makes sense.
That's actually quite interesting because I did a sigil about a couple of weeks ago that reminds me of that. It had the two collars on top of each other, and then it had the ball on the center of it. So that reminds me of that. So that's interesting.
So, and too, we talked a lot about what you hold on to. That's your belief system. So the frequency of belief supports our sense of self-worth based on our gifts and talents and strong connection to source. And source is us. We are source. That's how we're connected. And I think sometimes we forget that we might have to go back to source to connect to someone that's closer to us. And that might be one of the reasons that the thing with manifestation and making that really work more efficiently is that we try to connect directly with, say, an individual or an event or something we want to manifest. But if we go directly back to source and correct our belief systems, we're going to manifest that projection into our life, because that's ultimately what it is. When you go to source, you go to the source, you go to the directive, the direction. But if you focus on the projection, which is what your desire might be, this is where you're gonna eventually. It's kind of like when you have that box of whatever it is you're trying to reach on the top shelf, and every time you put your fingers up there, you push it further away. That would mean it's like, just cut it out.
Yeah, it's there.
Stop doing that. You're gonna keep pushing it away. So yeah, I guess that's kind of the idea behind that. But that's pretty much what I got working.
Yeah, I got the orbs again. I got the plasma spheres again. So there's something to do with there's an influx of sightings is coming, and it's going to be these orange plasma spheres.
How do you like this one?
Yep.
And I got some dots on my finger too. But yeah, transition, the frequency of transition supports our deep understanding of the ever-changing nature of existence in our lives so that we can learn to let go. Yep. Surrender to the process and allow transition to occur with ease and grace. Doesn't mean you're going to let things, you still have to have that rudder in the water to make sure you're going to be okay and you're going to be safe. But it is all part of the transition aspect and the process, right?
Yeah.
There's your orange orbs. There's a whole bunches of them.
Well, I look forward to each day as an adventure for sure. There's always some fantastic chapter going to happen. Yep.
Yep, I agree. Tickety-boo.
I'm good to wrap it up. It's been fun today. I'll make a cup of tea and get on with the vacuuming. The real housework begins.
The real housework begins. Okay, I believe you on that. Mine is going to start later, but that's all I got, babe.
Yep, me too. All right. Well, thanks everybody for coming along and making it happen. And don't forget to subscribe to our channels. And yeah, let's make this happen regularly. All right, that's me.
Don't forget to wash your hands.
Oh, yeah. Oh, God. Oh. All right.
See y'all on the flip side.
Yeah. Oh, I've got a poem actually about that. About
washing your hands?
No, about your finger slipping through the toilet paper. I'll read it.
Oh, yes. I remember that. We don't have to go into that now. That is a whole psychological breakdown on that sucker all by itself.
Do you know why you have that reaction? Why you were triggered by that reaction? It's because it happened to
everybody's done it. It just happens.
Hey there, Arizona Raven. We're just winding up. We're just winding up. All right. We're like that spring. We're getting ready. We're getting ready for something. All right. So Thank you everybody again for coming along. And we will catch you again. Thank you, Auric. Another awesomeness under the belt. Any last words?
Don't forget to flush.
Oh my God, woman. All right. That's it. I'm ending the stream.
See y'all on the flip side.